Awesome. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Yes, TK, I do have actual physical notes. I am that old. Well, hyper collaboration. Where did we start? So, interesting facts. Over the past decade, collaborative work has increased by more than 50%. 50%. And that means for you and I that in our current jobs, we are currently looking at around 85% of our day in collaborative tasks. We're also seeing shorter meetings. We are seeing a massive increase, more than 50% in voice and video calls, 65% increase in IM. It's just insane. It gets more and more and more. And coincidentally, or maybe not so coincidentally, should do slides, there we go. Coincidentally, what we're also seeing at the same time is that on average, people are spending between 5 and 8 additional hours every single week at work. Every week. Now you do a little bit of basic math, add that up over an entire year, that means we are working more than an additional month every single year, despite all this amazing collaborative work that we're doing. Okay? It's a lot of time. I can think of a few things I'd like to do with month versus work. So why? I suppose that's the next question, right? Why? What's happening? What is driving this massive increase in collaboration? Well, quite simply, it's our businesses. They're getting more and more and more, complex. I mean, hands up, who here is working in an organization that is more complex than it was a year ago or 2 years ago? All right? Those that have your hands down, come teach us your secrets, please. But I think, the positive side of that is that complexity is generally always coming from a positive business perspective. It doesn't come out of nowhere. That complexity is coming from growth. It's coming from innovation. And those are great things, but it is adding to our day-to-day. So what we're seeing more interconnections, we're seeing more dependencies, and also we're seeing from our clients more and more requirements for third-party specialists to come in and help with all these complexities, right? So the internal piece, where we're working as a team, that's the collaboration. The hyper-collaboration is where we are now starting to bring in these third-party partnerships to be able to help us to get to those goals. Right. Now, so great. Complex space, massively complex businesses. It's a lot to deal with. But wait, there's more. Because, of course, we have market conditions and work environments that also are evolving at breakneck speeds. And companies are having to adjust and scramble to keep up with all of that. And so there's a lot going on. There we go. See my slides. So I think, that in itself would be enough to deal with. But also, we can add in the fact that we are dealing in an environment that is volatile, that has failing infrastructure. Are we going to be able to get to work? Are the taxis working today? We have inflation. We have, escalating fuel prices. It's expensive to get to and from work. Are the lights going to be on? Am I going to be able to take that Teams call? So we have all of these additional social and landscape factors that are also starting to kind of influence how we collaborate and how we work. So it's a lot, and we ask for a lot. But again, to bring some good news is that our companies and our organizations understand that, and they are mobilizing to be able to deal with all of that complexity. So 51% was the planned spend when they looked at it in aggregate from a global perspective in terms of IT investments into business. Right, that's substantial, 51%, because companies are galvanizing towards all this complexity, to all this change. We're also seeing more and more apps and tools that are coming out to be able to help us collaborate. I've got some great collaborating tools. My favorite is a list tool that I use between my husband and my kids, and every time we need something or it's out of the fridge, we put it on the app. It's amazing. So we're collaborating. We know what needs to get done. I go to the shop, I click it all off, I know what's happening. So these tools are coming to be able to assist us in these spaces. So we've got that infrastructure. We've got the craziness, the complexity, the fast evolving. We've got the, these landscape pieces, but at least the tech is starting to be, put into place. And we can have all the tech in the world, but without the right people, of course, it means nothing. Now, the interesting thing is if you start to look at some of the HR trends and what people are looking for in terms of key skill sets across pretty much all verticals, we're seeing a lot of the same requirements, right? And they shouldn't be surprising to any one of you. We're seeing communication skills, we're seeing teamwork, we're seeing intercommunication, we're seeing emotional intelligence, we're seeing tech savviness. And all of these, of course, are very intentional because we are looking for people that can collaborate, because we know that that collaboration is going to be the key to our business success. But also, we know that if we don't get it right, it can actually lead to business failure. And that, of course, is rather scary for all of us. And when we look at business failure, I mean, in fact, 86% of leaders in a recent study cited that lack of collaboration was a driving force in workplace failure. 86%. Pretty substantial. Now, if you look at the other side of it, and we consider companies that are, above average index in terms of collaboration, so companies that are doing it really, really well, what we're seeing is we are seeing that they actually are starting to see metrics that really matter moving up. So we're seeing that these companies are doing better from a sales perspective. We're seeing that they're doing better from a product development perspective, from an improved quality perspective, and from client satisfaction. All things all of us want in our companies. So good collaboration works. Bad collaboration can be detrimental. And so it doesn't surprise any of us, I'm sure, that we're putting such a focus on it from business perspectives. But we're also all pretty seasoned, looking around here. But I didn't say old, I said seasoned. So, when we start looking at these big numbers and saying, okay, business failure collaboration, we also know, well, that's really broad. What does that mean? There's so many nuances within the collaboration in terms of why it could be failing. And what I want to do is just touch on one or two that I see happening across some of my clients and certainly in our own businesses that we need to, really double tap on to understand how we improve and how we work on that collaborative piece. So, number one, and it's a word that we hear over and over again, productivity. And the word that goes with it, capacity, right? Especially media agencies. It's all about productivity and making sure that we are delivering. And 90% of C-suites are concerned about productivity. I can resonate. I'm sure most of you can. And the scary number is 43% of them have said that they've been impacted by delays in campaigns and launches due to productivity. Now that has a real business impact, right? We cannot have campaigns and launches going out late. Our numbers won't allow for it. So understanding that productivity and casting your mind back to what I said right in the beginning is we are seeing that people are spending more and more time. Why? Because collaboration takes time. And we're seeing people working more and more. And of course, for all of us, one of our biggest costs from a business perspective is our people. So collaboration requires time and it requires money. And that's one thing I think that a lot of companies haven't quite gotten right yet. We're adding on all of these layers. We're expecting a lot from our people, but we're not necessarily creating the time and the space for them to do that work well. And then when it falls apart, we're like, oh, collaboration. We're not collaborating. We need to create the space. So yeah, productivity. Another key one, which we see time and again, and a major frustration, I think, certainly looking from my side, from a media agency, is this decision-making delays. And it seems almost counterintuitive. We're spending all this time in meetings. My goodness, like time, like my diary's like Lego. It's like Tetris. And it's, so we're meeting constantly, but we have these short form meetings. We're not creating enough time in order to get to resolutions. And so we churn and we churn. And then what happens is we run out of time. We'll have to chat about this in the next session. And of course, then what happens? How much fun is it trying to coordinate diaries? Right? I feel for my EA. She sits and she tries to match all these pieces together. It's impossible. And so we have these delays and these delays and these delays because we are so over-reliant on all these interdependencies, on all these people to make decisions and move forward. And I think one of the scariest ones for me is this piece that seems to be coming in these collaborative settings is that although we are all collaborating, we're all responsibility, the accountability is falling off of individual shoulders and it's landing slap in the middle of the table, right? So we're all responsible, but nobody is accountable. And so when things go wrong, we step back and say, we all agreed. Okay, so now what? And that's definitely, and in fact, it's such a prevalent concept that it's actually been coined the collaboration paradox. And that's this whole idea about the fact that there is nobody taking responsibility. And I actually want to read this. It says here, in collaborative settings, there can be diffusion of responsibility, leading to a lack of clear accountability. A study published in the Harvard Business Review found that in group decision-making, people are less likely to take responsibility for the outcome. That's a bit scary, and I'm sure most of us can see that happening in a lot of our organizations, which is why we're often just not getting the traction that we would want. Right, so what else? We know that collective thinking is incredibly powerful in getting multiple people with different skill sets and help to enrich an argument. But on the converse side of that, what we also see is key things coming out like groupthink and compromise quality. And for me, I squash these two together because I think, especially for South Africans, there's a lovely little common theme that comes in here. And that's that we are all so polite. And we're great. We're nice people, right? We don't want to upset anybody. We don't want to ruffle feathers. We talk so nicely, skirt around the issue. Yes, I understand your perspective. But the reality is, lovely as we all are, is we land up in a situation where everybody is just seeking consensus. People don't want to be called out. And especially we see this in more and more established teams. As great as it is to have the stability within teams, they all start to think the same way. And then we've lost the whole point of a lot of the collaboration. And compromise quality is the same thing. People don't want to be called out. And so what happens is we land up with this watered down PC version of what could have been amazing. And that's dangerous for all of us. Okay, so I've prattled and I've prattled. So what, right? So what's the outcome? Where's the amazing framework, the silver bullet? How are we going to solve this in, 2 easy steps? So here's my thinking. We need to do better. Right? Profound, right? Should I say it again? We need to do better. None of this is new, guys. This is not groundbreaking, right? Nothing in here is something you haven't seen. We all know this stuff. We just need to connect the dots, and we need to be intentional in how we are going about it. So we need to have clear decision-making processes. Of course, but somebody needs to be in charge. Who is accountable? We need to make sure that we are focusing on quality decision-making. How do we start bringing in a culture of radical candor? How do we start bringing in a culture and rewarding bravery? How do we take a step back and, make sure that we are balancing, collaborations with individuals? As agencies, I see it time and again. Our clients want everybody in the meetings because everybody can add value. But whilst we're doing that, we're not doing the rest of the work. So how do we balance that out? Who needs to be there? Who's adding value? If you have nothing to say in a meeting, you shouldn't be there. And of course, making sure you have structured partnerships again. I think I see time again where we've got these really complex clients with multiple key stakeholders, and we don't always have the agency structures to match. How do we ensure that we have partnerships that are there, that are able to support and match your aspirations? And then tech and tool. Love tech and tool. We've seen people are investing in it. People aren't using it. Right? Change management. It's like one of my buzzwords. We bring in all these systems to be able to make things work well, and people are resistant. It's human nature. People don't like change. That is our role as leaders, is to lead them through that change, to get them through to the other side, and we have to purposefully drive that. So what do we need to do? We need to do better, right? We need to drive the teams. We need to take accountability and responsibility for that. And so now for my shameless plug. From a Mindshare perspective, this is what we're doing. We have taken a step back. We have looked at the complexity of our clients, and we've invested millions to make sure that we're bringing in the tools that can help to match and solve a lot of these complex problems for our clients. And I think it's really in managing that change, understanding our partners and working collectively together that we can really make some key successes. So to wrap it up, because I'm sure you're all tired of hearing me speak. 1, it's a minefield. We know that, but we need to go out there. We need to arm ourselves. We need to be brave, and we need to move forward. No one said it was going to be easy, so why are you expecting it? We're going to have to be intentional, be brave, be imaginative. And of course, we need to invest in time and partnerships with people that have the same aspirations for growth that you do. Thank you very much.